pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My boat's sinking.
Silence the phone. Okay, welcome everybody to the work session of July 15th, 9:30 a.m. Ask the Secretary Treasurer to handle the roll call.
Okay, Scott Horowitz.
Present.
Ed Warner, present. Chip Marin,
Present.
Joe McLaughlin,
Present.
Matt Parsons.
Present.
Mr. President, we're all here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, Trustee Marin, you have a discussion on?
Yeah, just a few quick ones. The natives are getting restless as far as the drive on beach down at the picnic area. Everybody really wants a solid update of when or how or if there's going to be a possibility of them driving on soon. There was also, I don't know if anybody on the board is aware, but there was a fox that was shot. So somebody is kind of like monitoring their own plover program down there of species that naturally attack plovers. I don't think we'll put the pictures up because that might kick us off YouTube, but that it's an issue. Also, like the helicopter, it is like when the choppity goes up there, and it's really hard to believe that those helicopters have less of an impact than a few trucks driving on. So I think we really have to analyze what we want to do as a board in executive session. Try and make some kind of access for these, because summer's kind of waning here. And I didn't know if James could give us an update of what those three pairs are doing.
Yeah, there's 3 birds that are down there. We're monitoring them. They're within the 200 meters, so we can't even do the limited access. Once they're able to fly and they're fledged, we can open it up.
And what's the fledging schedule, do you think, estimated?
I mean, I can't tell the future, but the last nest that hatched was, I believe, July 11th. So it usually takes 25 to 35 days for fledging.
And that's the pair that's like
that's the county park pair.
The county park pair?
The county park.
That's in the county park.
Yeah, it's been going back and forth.
I've gotten similar calls, like you, Chip, probably some same people, and I saw the pictures as well as far as the dead fox is concerned. Obviously, we shouldn't show them in public, but maybe an executive can pass the phone around and show our board members, because this is a point of concern. As James said, we are limited as to what we can do in terms of the plovers, but it's certainly it should be up for discussion. Because no one should be shooting wildlife on the beach, especially. So that's all.
James, correct me if I'm wrong, the county is shut down also, as are we. So, it's a whole area, and these birds have taken over for the last 3 or 4 years down there. I mean, it is a shared resource, and we did have a phone conference last week with the consultant that was working with the county on a habitat conservation plan that would hopefully, for the county to mitigate some of their issues. Our habitat conservation plan will be more to mecox and sag. So just to update everybody on that.
Okay. I think we'll follow further.
I think it's definitely an executive. We're in litigation right now, and it's been a hot topic for many years. So.
I think the reality in the situation is that it is a mandate, it is a law that you have to comply with. It's incumbent upon the landowners and any of the regulatory authorities that are involved, and that we need to maintain a good working relationship with all these regulatory authorities. They need to have respect for what the trustees do and how hard James Duryea, the environmental analyst, and all the plover stewards do in administering this program. Trustee Warner pointed out it is a shared resource, and we don't have the authority to pick and choose which laws we comply with and which we do not. But we are in regular contact with these people to get these beaches open as soon as we possibly can. And, you know, that's the best that we can say, and then we'll discuss it further in exec, I think.
To the same point, like when I drove down there in this spring and the amount of fox that I saw around, I didn't think we were going to have quite the issue that we have, but they've been kind of taken care of in another means. So it's unfortunate.
Has any other regulatory authorities?
DEC's been notified.
They've been
on it,
notified.
yes.
Okay, so
It's in their hands.
that's good. Okay.
The next one is just quickly kayak racks. This is a good. There's a lot of people asking me about more sites for kayak racks in a lot of areas. They don't understand why there's empty spots and they can't put their kayak there if they have a sticker, et cetera, et cetera. But the baseline of it is I think that marine maintenance this winter should concentrate on prefabbing these units so that we can get them in a timely manner and or more of them as need be. I don't think they don't have the time or the resources to deal with building these kayak racks now, but if they could have some kind of prefab kayak rack ready to go to put in, there's a lot of people that want to use of these.
Yeah, I think we should look at each one of our areas and come up with, maybe 2 or 3 or several locations that in each one of our areas that could potentially be used. I know I tried to approach our office last winter about it, but being that we were so understaffed, it really didn't get any momentum. But if we could all get together, pick maybe, I know there's like about 15 places in the town that I can personally say that is a good spot, but I want each trustee in their area to come up with their spots. So
Yeah.
we could, I mean, it's a great resource because people can walk there, they can bike there, they don't have to drive their cars there.
Keeps everything clean on the beach. You don't have
Yes,
stuff tied up
yes.
to trees and
Correct.
shrubs and
orderly.
There's a lot of good programs that the trustees have had that, again, is staffing and the resources issue and the prioritizing what is really important for the marine maintenance group to be working on. Look, we had a pretty good program going with the osprey poles.
Yeah.
Right? We had a good program going with that, and we had to kind of put that on the back burner. And I think that as we get through the season here and take care of what's our immediate priorities, we need to take a look at these programs and see how we can bolster them up and make them sustainable because they are good programs. The Osprey one was a good program. Kayak program is good, but I think there's an appropriate time that we deal with it. I think as we get through this, we'll do a reevaluation, figure out what makes sense, and provide the resources so that people can enjoy this and it.
We should also let the public know that our marine maintenance went through a transition period where the Bay Constables were overseeing. Now we have our head guy, Tim Wilson, overseeing it. We did lose one of the guys to the town, but then we hired another guy. So we have 4 marine maintenance guys again. So with 4 guys, you can get a lot more accomplished with 2 or 3. So,
Well-
moving forward, I think, with a head guy that's more efficient and task-oriented, I think it will be much more productive.
Right, and well, it's a bigger discussion than that too, because there's a lot of things that marine maintenance are tasked with handling that it's questionable if it's the right people that are handling that. The trustee roads are something that we are not a highway department, and some of the time that's spent in dealing with these issues perhaps could be better spent working on these other areas. And I think as we work our way through implementation of the trustees district and continue on working with the town on our memorandums of agreements and understandings of who's going to be responsible for what, I think it'll become more clear in terms of what needs to be done to bolster these programs up there. Clearly something that's important to the trust. So
to the freeholders who want to leave their kayak or paddle boards in.
Let me just add something also. Last December, we also moved offices. So we're
up against
our
it.
December was.
I just think it's
booked.
great winter work to bang these things out and have them ready to slap
Yeah,
in.
this year we won't have a move to deal
That's
with.
kind of
as
what
well.
I'm getting at is let's get ahead of it
Correct.
instead of behind them.
correct, exactly.
behind
Yeah, prioritizing things, and then things are blowing up in front of us that we have to deal with. So, good discussion. Now you have another one on here.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize I had all these. Rose Hill Road. Do we want to have him come up for this one?
if you want, it's your area.
Yeah, why don't you just come up?
Just talk
Right.
about this.
You're the applicant, Mr. Cardy. How are you doing?
Yeah, Ronald Cardy, 9 Place Road, Hampton Bays. I just wanted to also bring up with the kayak, you guys have easy docks in the town in certain areas, and there is a kayak rack that attaches right to that dock. So when you're looking at these certain things, you may want, it's a lateral attachment, it's made out of aluminum, and it takes 2 kayaks.
Oh, that's good. to
And
know.
you already have, instead
Yeah.
of going through trying to build them, there may be a better
See,
way.
we were doing land-based ones, right? So, but there are areas that it may make more sense to do floating kayak racks, where you can't really use a lot of the land area because people need that to turn the trailer around the ramp site. So that's good to know. I'll have to take a look at that.
Yeah.
And there's cost factors as well that go into it. Our guys putting these things together, pretty economically. But thanks for sharing that. That's great.
So I met him down in Rose Hill at the site for a temporary dock. It was pretty smooth. Where he wanted to site it, it's not going to be an incumbent of the access to the from the ramp into the bay.
Good.
It's just a
He's got deep enough water there. We discussed it. It's all going to be valet parked off site, correct?
Yes.
So so there's not going to be an incumbent on our ramp parking. And then we just asked that your employees have a ramp sticker on one.
I've got a couple of ramp permits for the 2 trucks that are gonna be there. So we have a town ramp permit.
And it's only how many days?
Well, we were gonna have it Thursday to Monday, but I think we need Wednesday to put the dock in.
Put the dock in.
So Wednesday to Monday. Wednesday install
It's
the
a
dock.
temporary
Temporary,
event, and then
yeah.
it's out of there.
I'll amend the application
Thank
for
you.
you.
Could I see a copy of this when we get all this stuff together, because there is litigation involved on Rose Hill Road. I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
we're not doing something which is going to hurt us later on. I would want to
Yeah,
look at it and be able to explain it to Steve Stern.
It's just
Yeah.
a temporary
Yeah, but
event.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, just to cross our eyes. Yeah, but it is. I mean, it's a pretty clean. You said you're going to use galvanized poles that are going to pop right out. So
Yeah.
like I said, if I could just get a copy of the paperwork, that would be great.
Sure.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Again, another shared resource that we're trying to regulate here.
Quote unquote shared resource. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good day.
All right. You're done with your discussions for a work session. Now I've got Trustee McLaughlin on the Sabonic fireworks.
That Lisa, give that to you.
It's the Sabonic
Golf club.
golf course. They do these every year in August. Unfortunately, the beach is closed in front of Sabonic because of a brood. So I think unless something happens to that brood, they will not be able to have their fireworks off the beach. They'll have to get a barge. James and I discussed it, and right after we got the application, the brood was found. So I will reach out to Sabonic and let them know that their alternative is to move them to another date or to put a barge in Peconic
When you say
Bay.
move them, you mean
Move the date of the
Right,
of
not
the
the- not
fireworks.
the brood.
Not the brood.
And-
No.
This is a plover brood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
You guys do have a resolution in case something
Something
happens and
happens.
it's opened
Yeah.
up. Then you have the resolution to approve it, so it's
Yeah.
on for the regular meeting.
And being the plovers are there, and it's going to be within a time frame before they fledge, so
Right.
it's going to be an issue.
Right.
What is the distance the barge needs to be put out in Peconic Bay?
They would have to do that with DEC. It's usually
I know.
3/4 of a mile.
Yeah, it's a state-owned underwater land, so once you get off the beach. Yep. So they'd have to take that up with the DEC. Do they know, does the applicant know that that's a
It
potential?
just happened on Friday, and I haven't had a chance to reach out to Chris.
Okay. All right.
But I will today or tomorrow when I get in the
And the
office.
beach is currently closed to 4x4s, correct? So there's
The
no,
beach is closed.
Yep. okay.
Yeah, on last Friday, I put a mandatory language into the resolution, which you'll see.
I did see it, Joe.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you,
Okay.
Lisa.
All right. Concludes the discussions for the work session. Let's go to the general permit applications for determination. Susan Kurland modification at 23 Bayside Avenue, East Quogue. That's a First Coastal. Which I don't see.
They're not here.
Want to just wait?
Yeah, you can hold off until.
Let's hold that one for now until somebody shows up for First Coastal. Will probably show up. And we have the Michelangelo Ferrari Irrevocable Trust, 36 Bonita Road, East Quad, represented by the owner. Hello. Hi. How are you, sir? Good.
It's just silent.
So you want to do landward of the existing Navy bulkhead 75 feet over in Shinnecock Shores, flush with the existing. And you got to add on here to propose a wood walkway of 4 by 75 feet.
No, I canceled that.
You canceled that.
Yeah, that's too much money and
Too much money. You don't need it.
don't need it.
You don't really need
I
it.
put sod,
But what?
I put grass.
What type of? Okay, well, that's gonna be a problem. You can't put sod or grass right up against the bulkhead.
I think it was dirt and
Well,
so what do you suggest?
stone, sand,
Or stone?
native vegetation.
Cape American beach grass.
Yeah.
Something.
Not sod or regular grass, but native vegetation.
How about stone? What stone?
Yes.
That's what you're gonna have to do, because that's what the regulations are. You can't have sod or the
Well,
nice.
with a lot of dirt, the kids.
I understand, but the
Yeah.
buffer is what we need. I understand what you're saying, it's just you gotta put
It
the,
was there, the grass.
I-
at one time.
I'm sure it was, but a lot
What
of
happened?
it was not supposed to be. It's supposed to be a buffer for the water so that the kids have nice water to swim in, not chemicals and, you know, runoff and things like this. Let's go back to, you got no elevation change, right?
Is,
See the plans?
Yeah, could you just go back to the plans?
Yeah,
Who's,
let's
who's
look
got
at
the
the
packet?
It's right here. Right here. But I think that there's gotta be some, amendments.
Did you go one more, James? Yeah. There's docks here, or what's going on?
You have the float. Did we look into the
float
float?
doesn't have a permit. that I
Right, so
can
your
find.
float, you also need to come in for a permit for this float, because you don't have a permit for this float. So this area, like you see with the dirt, you have to put a buffer here. You can't have the sod running right to the grass. So you're gonna have to, give us a plan of what you're gonna do there, stone or sand or some mixture of native vegetation. It looks like, what that was.
Might have been an old retaining wall there. or
Yeah,
something.
well,
Yeah, I mean, if you get some nice pea gravel in there and some,
Tea gravel, yes.
yeah, and
I just
and
put
yeah, and get some sand so you have some leaching before your runoff goes into the water.
5 feet from the
Yeah,
bulk.
and it's got to
10
stay
10
below
10
the sill.
feet.
It's a 10-foot area.
10 foot area.
10
away
feet.
from the bulk.
Yeah, and then it also has to stay below the top sill.
Yes.
Like you can't have the grade above the top. It has to be at the
that's what
bottom
I
of the
gotta
sill.
know. I got like
Yeah.
1 foot down.
right, so we need to see, you know what you do is that you gotta amend this plan showing the 10-foot buffer in compliance with the blue book, utilizing the pea gravel. And you also need to apply for a permit for that floating dock, because there is no permit for that dock.
When I bought that house, this one was there.
Yeah, I had the same problem.
But you have to get it into compliance now.
Okay, so
Two things, right?
to fix the
Fix the buffer,
buffer.
amend the plan showing that buffer, right? And you need to apply for the floating dock. And We gotta make sure it's all compliant before we sign off on it. You're getting there.
Almost.
You're almost there. Anything else anybody wants to add to this? Smith?
So you can just amend the application
He's gotta,
with the buffer and the
floating dock.
floating dock.
And
on it.
delete
Yeah.
And you need
the walkway on the cover sheet needs to be amended.
right, and the as-built fee needs to be so, for the floating dock.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to, you know what you do? Just give a call to the office, and we'll give you instructions of what it is that you have to do. Speak to James, he'll tell you exactly what it is
Yeah.
that you have to do. But you're almost there, but you're not there yet.
Okay.
Okay? You have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
James Lanzarone, 7 Marlin Road, East Quogue, land use.
Yes.
Come on up.
Hello.
Good morning. All right. Proposing to reconstruct existing bulkhead in place or landward of the existing, utilizing vinyl sheeting, 124.5 linear feet, 20-foot return to the north, 19 to the south. In place, same height as the existing, so there'll be no increases. Sand and gravel from the upland source proposed landward of the bulkhead. 10-foot area landward of the bulkhead proposed to be planted with beach grass or 10 inches on center will remain as natural, non-fertilized buffer. 4-foot wide natural path is proposed through the buffer area for shoreline access to the south side of the lowered platform access area. All materials to be non-treated.
Yes, correct.
Seems compliant.
Stamps, James?
Stamp plans, yes.
So that's-
We've been over this one a couple times,
I think it's good.
Yeah, it sounds like it's approvable, or moving forward at least, yes.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We can
It's not,
advance
no
it.
height change. Yeah.
No.
You're hitting all the targets we need for the area.
Okay, very good.
So this one, I think is good to go.
Advance, yeah.
You have anything else on here while you're?
I didn't see anything. I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
I
I
don't.
don't see any.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next one that I have is Sarah Coyne, 34 Mineola Court, Hampton Bays, LK McLean. See, you are here. All right. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Keith Messeri from McLean Associates.
Good morning.
All right, so this one, 150 linear feet of new vinyl bulkhead directly in front of the existing timber bulkhead. Wetland encroachment of approximately 60 square feet will occur due to the shape of the new bulkhead. Approximately 7 cubic yards of stone will be placed below between the two bulkheads, right? So this
Yeah,
is
it's
the-
filled between the two.
Yeah, so this is, and I think you gotta put the pictures up on this one here. 24 linear feet of timber bulkhead proposed to be replaced in place with vinyl. Helical ankles will be spaced at 6 feet on center. It is also proposed to construct a new 12-foot wide by 51-foot long timber staircase. Install a minimum of 2 foot above grade. The area landward of the bulkhead will be planted with approximately 3,460 square feet of native wetland vegetation. So this one we met on site. This is a bit of a unique situation. You're going to see right there that you have
Stormwater runoff.
A dream pipe?
you have major road running right into the thing, right?
Did that happen?
And then what he wants to do is, and you can explain that, but bring that retaining wall that stepped back, bring the whole project forward seaward, so not disrupt
The slope, yeah,
slope.
so rather than have two retaining walls, it would just be one higher bulkhead in the front. And the reason behind that is, one of the reasons is that we would have to deconstruct the whole slope in order to get the anchorage system in.
Oh, so you want to keep all that holding, like all that.
Yeah,
I
like
don't
that.
even know if that's native. Whatever is going on up there is holding a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and that what looks like a concrete walkway is actually a concrete seawall. So it's a little bit more of a challenge to just take it out. Had it just been a sidewalk, that might have been slightly easier.
So there's
Oh,
there's an
wow.
original seawall there, then there's a bulkhead in front of
it's
it.
like refaced in
So
front.
so you'd have to go back to the original pier line. That's what we normally would make them do, because you already had two bulkheads there.
So
Instead of
you'd
going-
make him go back to where the
That's-
retaining wall, and that would be his.
Yeah, that would be his.
That's what the blue book
That's
calls
what the-
for.
Yeah, because it's already been advanced, refaced or resurfaced one time, so you're only allowed one of those. And
Yeah, you're only allowed one seaward, and then you got to bounce back the next time.
Right,
you do
pure line
the
to the
pure line
original.
has to go back.
Yes.
Which is counter to what he was trying to do, and that was the least amount of disruption or disturbance to that slope, which would create a substantial seaward elevation increase, and then
Yeah, and if we
it's just
and raising it allows us to put, like, if we don't raise it, we can't put. The whole plan has to change because the current idea is to have the anchorage system come right over the top of the existing concrete wall. Put the helicals in, so we.
Oh, just leave the concrete wall there.
that's what they were trying to
Leave the
not
concrete
disturb that whole.
What's that do for leaching, though? I mean, that's not really much of a leaching pattern if you leave the concrete there.
We'll still have the area behind the wall, and the area between the walls is going to be filled with gravel, so you should have some leaching there as well.
No, but I mean straight down that forward.
Yeah, and I do know from the history of the area that this was done like this for public pass and repass. Once you reconfigure it the way you want, it's going to completely preclude the public to be able to pass and repass along that waterfront.
In front of this property.
Yes.
It would. Well, there'll still be a walkway. There'll be a flat area on top, but there would be a grade change, so it would be a challenge for someone to be able to do that.
Well, I mean,
I personally like the tiered structures myself, just because it breaks up wave energy. Like that kind of works as a first. As the tide rises up, it kind of slams into that one, breaks it apart, instead of having like a straight wall going up where the waves are ricocheting. But that's my personal preference, is to kind of leave it the way it is, replace it in kind, in place.
We knew when we went there, James, and we met on site. We were looking at. We spent a bunch of time there looking at this, and listening to the rationale, obviously, of the trained engineer, and then looking at the whole thing. We were
is there a new bulkhead just to the south where that drain pipe is? Is it?
Yeah, and it's
There
the
is, and
same
so-
height
so-
as.
They did the same concept. They went in that wall is continuous through that
Okay.
public space. They went in front also, but they must have just connected to it somehow or another. That's not really something we felt comfortable with.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're going to basically take that project and put it all on trustee property, you're going to have to maintain some kind of public passing way. Because I'm not going to give up our trustee property for a homeowner and then preclude the public from passing and repassing along that stretch.
So I personally would like to see it in kind, in place, have the concrete removed, have a permeable like substrate, and take care of that drain pipe.
Well, that's on the other property.
That's on the other property. That's the property owner.
well, the road is right there.
Yeah, it's on the.
Yeah, I think that's basically.
There's
it's
like a
public-
right of way or
Is
private
it?
road here.
See it?
It's a little pier that goes.
And the
over.
homeowner's property kind of follows the bulkhead for a good portion of it. It does kind of go in and out, but a good portion of this is on his property, like the existing walkway. So it's all possible.
I'm just going
It's-
by history that there's been a lot of animosity down there with homeowners and people being able to walk back and forth. And when the tide gets high, they like using that little pad that's behind the bulkhead. I'm just giving you a little bit of past history down there.
Right.
And doing this is going to probably, upset a few of the neighbors because it is a, access point to that whole area down there, that roadway.
This is a challenging one.
Yeah, and we do have, I don't know if it matters, but the Department of State letter of concurrence, and we also have the Army Corps has a letter of coordination going out where they're going to be notifying
The
I think it's-
adjoining property owners?
I think it's 2 adjoining property owners, and then they asked that a third notice be posted in the post office.
I agree with that because I think you're gonna get some
Yeah.
input from the neighbor. I know
I think
you're
it
gonna
was
get
the
some.
ones on either side.
Yeah.
And that access, who owns that access road?
That's a community,
It's a private,
It's a private access road for
Yeah,
the whole
for
community.
the whole community, and they do.
it's a private road. Mineola Court is a
They're
private road.
dumping straight into
But
the-
everybody uses it as a means to get down to the water
Correct, yes.
within those homes. So,
Exactly.
yeah,
You see the drain right there, right?
this is gonna have to be opened up for
Right
public forum.
It should
It
have a
should
pub-
be
a public,
fairly. yeah.
it should have a public hearing because it's gonna affect a lot more homeowners than just the one,
Just-
the applicant.
yeah.
That's my opinion, and this is my area for years, and I dealt with some of the, personalities down there.
That's if he wants to stay with the same.
That's
Well,
if he wants to
proposal.
remove the tiered structure and go with a single bulkhead.
Correct.
And if he was to go with a single bulkhead, it would have to be the back where for all intents and purposes, the retaining wall. And then we have a problem with people not being able to
Pass and repass.
pass and repass. So I would personally like to see it replaced in kind as it is. But that's just me. I'm 1 of 5.
Eddie, I think you sound like you're in that camp.
I just know the lay of the land down there, so.
Well, James, we met the applicant's agent there. We were there for quite a while. And we were
It's unique.
we were back and forth. We were listening to his concerns, and we were stating all of your concerns, and we were obviously concerned with the water dumping straight into the bay off the road. We were kind of taking note of the entire situation going on down there,
And just to be clear, like the position here, like if we would be to potentially put it back where the existing composite or
Peel on.
concrete faces,
Yeah.
not the second wall back.
you want to go back to the drawing board a bit on this. I mean, we don't,
I mean, it can be done. It just, so everybody knows, if we do that, the whole slope has to be totally taken
No, I
down
understand
in
that
order to
because
construct this.
I'm very familiar with the area down there. It's one of the few places on Diana Bay where there's a very high bluff
So-
behind it.
Is there any covenanted buffers from the town on this property?
Not that we're aware of. We did reach out to the town, and it didn't seem like they,
There's none.
yeah,
What are in the private community?
not that we're aware of. We can look into that a little further, though. We did foil some older plans, but it was mainly just for when this wall
I mean,
was
regardless,
installed
you're going to
years
have to address those issues when this gets opened up.
You
to
should look
people
into the
within
original
community.
subdivision and see if there's any covenants on that road and restrictions on any of the properties. Because sometimes there are areas along this beach where these roads or access points do allow for swim areas, like a 20 by 30 swim area for the community. So I'm pretty familiar with it. So I would do a little bit more research before, we go move forward on this.
They did move the stairways further into the property, though, right?
Yeah, it's about 20 feet off the property line, and then it L's facing south, so it's nowhere near
Right,
the
because-
northern property.
Initially, they had it, like we've been having this issue with everybody sitting way off to the side and creating, additional problems. So they did move that further in.
Definitely works out better.
Works out better.
Yeah.
I think so. All right,
Yeah, we can.
put this on hold. Let's do some more research. This way, the board at least got to see this because it needed to happen as we discussed when we were there. And then let's keep working on this together and figure out what's going to make sense here.
Alright.
You got more
Sounds good.
homework to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the subdivision was in the 30s. So I recollect that and Grant Boulevard were similar time frames.
Yeah, we'll see what we can find on that.
Do you have any more?
What's up?
Do you have any more down the list?
No, that was
No,
our
he's
only
done.
one
That's
today.
it. Then we're moving on to trustee Warner's. Thank you. We will be speaking.
We have 11 Lighthouse Road, Hampton Bays. Environmental Inc., Clay Cofield. That's a small writing on here.
Good morning, all.
Hello, good morning.
We live in tumultuous times.
Tumultuous.
Tumultuous. You got it.
All right. Four by 10s, 4x53, right? That's you.
The applicant looks to install a 2 4x10 ramp, a 4x53 graded vinyl deck pier, and 1 safety ladder. Replace the existing 100 feet of bulkhead with 100 feet of Navy style GS 9000 vinyl bulkhead elevated 18 inches, and to install one 8-foot return on the existing and reinstall the existing staircase. Install 5 by 100 foot of boardwalk landward of the bulkhead and 5 cubic yards of material to be trucked in beyond the bulkhead, and all the lumber is to be tropical hardwood.
One change on that, one ramp.
One ramp. Okay. The adjoining properties, the elevations of the bulkhead are, they're all pretty much the same on there.
McWilliams is higher because it's new,
Yeah, the one
and
11A.
on the other side to the south is the same height as the existing bulkhead on Dietl's property. I imagine when they have to replace it, it's gonna come up also.
What is the McWilliams property to the south? I know it's the last bulkhead.
It's
How much?
almost 18.
Almost 18. So you're looking to match
A match whatever he has.
whatever he has, which would be consistent. But I believe that was put in without a permit originally. So
Which one?
one of the properties along there, I think McWilliams, the one to the south, 11A, because we needed to get some work done there without a permit. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, yeah, a long time ago.
Yes, but
You know, it's always permitted.
and the pictures that you're showing us on the property that is currently there, there is just grass, there's a fence, and then there's a grassy area.
Sandy area, yeah.
But a sandy, grassy area, which would be consistent to what a lot of these properties have with a lower elevation. But you're asking to put a 5 by 100 foot boardwalk behind there?
Yes.
I know the board has been reluctant. I mean, I would see an area that would be, like 10 or 20 feet of boardwalk and the rest would be natural grass. That's an excessive amount of boardwalk. Would you say, Jay?
Next door has a 4-foot or 5-foot boardwalk.
Yeah, but
That was passed.
for 100 feet?
McWilliams has one for his entire property, which I believe is 100 feet.
Is that correct, James?
It looks it on the overhead.
There.
Is that to provide access and egress for the public on
Well,
that whole boardwalk? Isn't that how we've done it in the past?
Yeah, but a 5-foot boardwalk, I mean, we've been pulling back the sides of these, I mean, there's no reason.
For it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it should be a permeable barrier like we do with the rest of them.
well, I mean, a small area where you can access with the stairs off or they're asking for a dock, so you come to a small area like 5 by or 10 by, 10 by 10 or 10 by 20, so you can put some stuff there, but the whole entire property, I think, is a little excessive, especially where you get all of these storms and overwash and, a lot of these decks end up getting ripped out and, spewing around the environment.
Well, it would be a graded deck, so it won't wash out.
I disagree with that. There's piles of them along this
If
beach
it's-
that was washed out from, the grading. docks and everything were broken up last winter. I mean, environmentally, it would be better to have a small walkway area to access your dock, so you don't bring sand back and forth, but also to get some grass plantings there, natural grass, and then, indigenous plants there to, wick up some of the.
Would you allow a 3-foot wide one there?
Well, I mean,
What he wants to do is he wants to put like kayaks up there, since we can't have the kayak ramp on the.
Yeah, but you're not gonna have kayaks the whole length of the piece of property.
a 5 by 100 foot.
I mean, how many lists he's got, so that means he's gonna have
He
like
has
15
large-
kayaks that he wants to use.
His large family, couple of kids.
Yeah, I think it's
Doesn't
excessive.
take long before you
I
have
think a 5 by 100 is excessive. I think something like
3.
I mean,
It's not it's the point of having that wood along the whole bulkhead.
He looks at his neighbor, and his neighbor has wood. And then he's gonna ask me why the change.
Because we've been cutting back everybody on these because of the environmental impact, as Eddie's explaining. These winter storms we're having, that crap ends up floating all over the bay.
I mean, we just went through a property, like 3 houses, Maloney, with a large deck, and we cut that back substantially, right, James? I mean, it's consistent in what we're doing. I mean, we have an area behind a bulkhead that, overwashes and with storms could potentially get pulled out and then put into the environment. We're trying to make sure that this doesn't happen, and if it does, it's a smaller amount of wood that gets torn up, and the rest of the area will have, a root system with grasses and stuff that absorbs the nutrients that are, put on the upland of the property that makes its way into the bay.
All right, if we use the graded 3 foot, it doesn't come up. Every contractor that I use never comes up.
I mean,
If you put in well, and then the grass will come through the graded deck, and then you'll still have overwash feeding the grass that's under the end of it.
Well-
Nobody's gonna be up there mowing it.
well, there's another option. I mean, you could put a top cap on there up to 24 inches, which is in our regulations. So you can go 2 feet all the way down the whole thing with a top cap on top of the corrugated vinyl bulkhead.
All right, I think that was included anyway.
So you're gonna do the top cap plus this other thing
A total of 5 feet,
included in that?
so it'll be 3 on the
So
back,
We're
2 on
not
the front.
really, I'm not.
So
I'm
the top
personally
cap,
not
so the
for it.
top cap, if you go
I'm
light
trying to
penetrative
Yeah.
on the top cap to that width, right, bolted nicely
Yes.
across, because it's going in and out.
Then it's
So
3
you
feet
need to have
behind.
that anyway, and then, in the area, I think it's a case where like less is more. I think, in
Yeah,
the areas that you need to have that structure there, okay, but in areas where you don't need that structure there, you're probably better off with, native vegetation in those areas. First of all, it's going to be less money on the permit fees, and
More environmentally sound.
environmentally just better for them and less to maintain and so forth. So I hear what everybody's looking at everybody else saying, I want what that guy's got. I get that, but that's not always the right answer. You know what I mean? It's like, what is it that you need, and what is it that makes the most sense for this property? I think is really what you need to do, and you need to have another huddle with your client to talk about this, or
If you're gonna do a small deck behind with a 2 foot down the bulkhead top, so it's not dangerous, the stairs that go into the property and the dock do not line up. So we'd have to have an accommodation to,
Well, I haven't accepted the dock, correct? This is not an existing dock.
it's
We
not
have-
an existing dock,
Yeah,
But-
so we haven't really.
but I have a
approved it yet.
DEC permit, and if you don't put it in the same place.
No, I understand, but we haven't even approved the dock yet. We haven't
No,
gotten there.
but I'm saying, we were talking about a landing area where you could move from one point to another point on the property. So it
Why
ties
can't you
in.
match the two up?
The existing staircase is in a different place. It's not far.
But the dock's not approved yet, so why can't you move the dock over to the existing
well,
staircase?
well,
Unless it's,
Because it's over the 10,
Yeah.
10 foot off the property.
yeah,
Come on.
he's better off going to the center where he's going. You know what I mean?
no, I'm just asking where it is.
this existing stairs.
It's right where the existing staircase mark is there,
Yeah,
and then we need a little area over there to go from one to the other. I cannot move the dock.
So they
The-
can't walk
the
on
dock-
the beach to get to the two? It's like,
yeah, but you're gonna need Passover steps to get across.
No, I cannot have Passover steps. I cannot have I put in for a dock that went to the bulkhead and it was denied.
Okay.
It has to be 10 feet or better away from the property line, which is it. So it was either on this side of that little existing staircase, which puts it too close, or on the other side. And if you're gonna utilize the either side for something, maybe you tie your kayak up there for today, so you don't have to be freighting it on your shoulders, you need to have access to both sides. So, you're gonna cut back, I need to have some accommodation to go from one to the other, so we can put at least one kayak up there,
So you're gonna replace the bulkhead, right?
yes.
You're looking, and the steps that are currently there, the access
They
steps
have
to the
to be
beach,
replaced.
are they permitted?
I have no idea, they were there when they bought the property.
If they're not
I mean, they're
permitted, then we can have them removed during the bulkhead process and put them closer to the dock that's currently there,
There is no dock.
There's no
right
dock
there.
that we're looking to approve. Sorry.
The pier,
Yes.
Yeah. no dock today. The only thing is if you put them too close, I have to put that at the high water line, the ramp, and then to get onto the thing. If you put them too close, it's gonna be a hindrance for people walking past it. So you have to have a certain amount of room to maneuver around the two.
So I don't understand what you're asking. You're asking us to leave it or move it?
I was asking to leave it in the same place.
So it's gotta be part of the permit process.
It is.
Yeah.
It's in there.
Yeah.
So you walk from the upper stairs down to the lower stairs in a straight line. Then you walk over a few feet to get onto the ramp of the 53-foot pier.
Proposed.
So the stairs that are currently there, are they the 4x10 ramp? No, they're not. That's,
No, the ramp is
so,
to the
so you
pier.
need to include these stairs in the application.
He's,
They are in
he,
there.
he states reinstall existing staircase.
Reinstall existing stairs.
But if it's not,
But if it's not
doesn't have a
permitted,
permit, then
yeah,
it
If it
needs.
doesn't
you have
have
to
a-
pull a permit for.
Well, he bought the property as is.
I know,
Yeah,
that's
but-
not our problem.
You buy it
What
with
I'm saying, they
violation
have to
if
be,
it's not.
they have to
So,
be permitted. they
I'm
have
trying to-
In order to make it correct, we are reinstalling the stairs, which means, to me, is I need a permit for the stairs, reinstall or get a permit. You have to have access from the property to the beach in any case.
Yes, but
Yeah, but
we're
you
asking.
can't reinstall something that's illegal. You need to make the
All right.
application
You
for it.
need
de
to show
novo.
us a permit for the steps that are the beach access, or you're gonna need to put it on the application.
All right,
What's the height
so-
of this bulkhead? What's the height of this bulkhead?
I don't know, it's in there somewhere.
What
It's
is
on
it?
the survey. It's the height of all the ones that are there.
Doesn't have it, no. I don't see it.
What are these stairs gonna be made out of?
Well, tropical hardwood, it says.
Tropical
You
hardwood.
can't- Oh, that's why I'm asking what the height is, because in some of these instances, people are using aluminum stairs, and they come in and they go out, they're there for the
Oh, you
season,
mean the flip up?
and then they pull them out. Some of the associations that have the bulkhead that go down to beach area, they'll make the stairs out of aluminum, and then fall comes and nobody's going down there,
They
they'll
flip 'em
pull
up.
them out of the harm's way. They'll move them up and get them out of the way entirely, reinstall it in the spring with a couple bolts, and call it a day.
If you want them to be aluminum, we'll make them aluminum.
Because then it's not, it's not like it's a structure that's there all the time in the way. It's there for the purpose of getting people on the
Right,
beach to use that, and then it's out of there and not, a liability for the wintertime.
We
Just
don't,
a lot.
we have very little ice these days, and I don't think it's
Well,
gonna get to
Well, I'm
the
just
point.
saying, when you have surge, not so much ice, when you get the storms beating up wooden structures that are,
Yeah,
You know,
Unless you
even the
make
wooden
the
structures
staircase
would
like
leave
flow
too.
through decking, like so that way the tide goes up through it instead of like flowing.
It is gonna be, graded decking.
It is,
yeah,
The staircase is going to be
you know what it is, I
Everything.
find
absolutely.
that works. The problem with it is sometimes is that the fasteners that are used, corrode after a while, or it
If
tears
they-
out of the
if-
fasteners,
If they use stainless steel and they're over 2 inches, it's gonna be very hard to come out of tropical hardwood.
I've seen, with the way
I've seen them too.
we get these surge where you have the in and outs, obviously of the new style bulkheads where that constant hitting it does relieve a lot of that pressure, but after a while it something lets go,
I think the direction of the bulkhead doesn't take the full force of that. Being that the fact that you have beach at some point, the wave strength is cut down, and then you only have the severe battering at the high tide. Well,
exactly.
at very high, so it's a lot slower, or it's not existent.
I'm familiar with exactly what you're talking about, and that's why I said in some instances they've used an aluminum set of stairs. They'll remove them for the winter,
A retractable one.
Yeah.
and then it's like a non-issue because
We'll use the fold-up staircases.
and some of them don't even. They just have a couple people. They pick them up and they move them
Yeah,
out of
no
the
problem.
and then they reinstall them.
I don't think that should slow up this permit.
No, I'm just saying, if that's an
We'll
issue,
examine
examine them.
change. We'll put in the aluminum stairs. Either they'll be folding up or removable.
James, where the proposed dock is to where the access to the beach, the steps, what is the distance on the bulkhead? Is it like 20 feet, 25 feet?
I can't tell you that.
We should be able to put a scale on that.
Yeah. I don't
It's a
have
one
the
to
file.
it's a 1 to 30.
Do you want a
foot.
scale?
Yeah.
Scale.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the distance, because if you're gonna give,
So the area that we'd have to have a little bit of deck is from the removable staircase to the outer portion of the pier.
so if you take this,
I was 10 to 15 feet.
looks like 15 feet. So if you were to do a 5 by
15.
5 by 15, you would have decking behind the access steps. You'd have
Yeah,
decking
fine.
just inshore of the dock where you could put the kayaks on top of the deck area. So a 5,
I would go a little longer because you have to walk around the kayak.
all right, 5 by 20.
5 by 20.
Then that would give you a nice area to put either a dock box or your kayaks, and you have access from the beach
Mhm.
up to this deck, and then it would be,
I don't think we'll do a dock box. I didn't put it in.
I'm
the
just
DEC
saying, that's
5 by
what
20.
some people try to, but that's cutting the amount of decking down drastically, and then you could give
And
it,
2 feet on the cap.
yes, which is in our blue book.
So I think those 2 provisions in there would make, we don't have to hold up this permit. To do
And then,
That's good.
what are you
Are
gonna,
we doing the dock separate from the bulkhead?
No, no,
it
we're
separate?
gonna get
it's
to
all
that.
one,
It's all one.
it's all one
It's all
application.
in the application.
You need buffer language
What's that?
for the 10 feet, right?
Yes, buffer language, what are you gonna put for the buffer between the 2
What do you
foot
suggest?
Cape American beach grass?
Beach grass?
Yeah, that makes it, and especially in that area, in the marine area where the overtops and salt spray and water, it would be a good, and it would keep the geese
Whatever
off the
makes it
water.
work.
12 inches on 7.
12 inches on
12 on
center.
center?
Yep.
So he's going up 18 inches.
18 inches, which is gonna match the adjoining property to the south.
We'll match it.
You zoom in on it.
So it'll be no higher than 18, it could be lower.
Yeah, I don't think it's 18, I think it's about 16.
You want to get an exact measurement?
Well, whatever the adjoining property to
Whatever
the
it
south
is, and make it level, and that's it.
That's the most current bulkhead along there. And we're matching up, that's what we, have done in the past. So are we good with this then?
We have to do
The
the
dock, I'm not.
pier?
Not good for the dock.
All right. What are your questions with the dock?
I'm really struggling with these docks that are going out to a non-appreciable water depth.
It's going to 2 feet.
It's going to 2 feet,
Yes.
so it's gonna have
No
could have
float.
a floater on it.
No
float.
float.
No float, there's no floater there.
Has to be 2.5 at low tide as per DEC.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just these docks to nowhere. Like to launch a kayak off the beach and launch a paddleboard off the beach versus.
We might tie up a jet ski for the day.
Well, we just approved the dock at the next door neighbor. Very similar to this.
Longer, 100 feet.
Yeah.
So I understand what Chip's saying.
I just saw the one that we approved in Woolly Pond.
I saw it.
I'm like, we can't keep doing this. This is like, it's basically.
Well, it's 2 feet at low tide, so at
No, I
high tide.
understand. You can make. I mean,
2 feet at low tide.
Yeah.
So this one's got more water than a lot of these other ones do. Some of them, there's like no water. No water.
And it's a ladder at the end, not steps.
Yeah, it's a ladder. at the
Just a
end.
ladder. Nothing really going to be
except for a dock out.
minimal invasion.
I'm not going to approve docks that go to nowhere. Personally, when you can launch a kayak, or I just can't do
By
it.
Sandy Beach there.
You know, I mean,
Jet ski could go up on the beach too, right? A little anchor on it.
I don't know.
you can have a little mooring for your jet ski if you're going to tie it up for the day. I can't. I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm one of 5, but I'm not gonna keep signing off on these docks that go to nowhere.
Well, if they went to 100 feet, which is the pier line, it would go to 2.5 feet of water. Which
We
would
can't because of the
be eelgrass
SAVs.
beds. I know. I was going to bring that up. That's
So
what.
it's like, what do you really accomplish with this thing?
Access.
It improves the
But you have
value.
access
It
right off
improves
the
the
beach.
value of your house.
The
what
beach
it
is
does.
very small, and the beach is non-existent at high water.
That's a picture of the beaches and stuff.
So he doesn't have
But he has
access.
to walk
He
through
just
the
wants
water
to-
to get to his dock anyway.
Right. So it doesn't make
That's-
sense. If you gotta walk, you could just launch your kayak at that point instead of walking through the water, then go on this thing and then launch your kayak. It doesn't make any sense.
But it's not always high tide, so he does have a lot of time. when
Then he
he's
doesn't
doing
need
it.
a dock.
still
when
doesn't-
It is high
it
tide.
still doesn't
When
make
it
sense
is low
to
tide.
me.
He doesn't need the dock.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I'm not in favor
But-
of it.
But
that's close stuff.
at low tide, he needs the dock. So you're limiting him
But at
to
low tide, he
only
doesn't
one
need a dock
tide
'cause he
when
can
we
go
were
off the
asking for
beach.
2 tides.
At low tide, he can go off the beach. He doesn't need a dock. Correct?
But yes, he could.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's 2 docks to the north, 1 to the south. So, I mean.
It doesn't, at some
And
point,
they're all the same, within the very minimal changes, configurations.
What's the number? Which one is this?
You may
11
like piers and stuff because they're visually not to look at, but you have to consider also that these structures will allow marine growth over time, which is not there now. So you see that all the time. So you're
Not on
only
tropical
looking at
hardwoods.
they attach to everything. You can get algae on anything. I have 53 years experience at DEC, continued with DEC, and I did plenty of algae studies in Shinnecock Ridges and Great South Bay. Algae will attach to everything.
I mean, my thought process on this is if it was my own property for my application, if I was looking for just to go kayaking, personally,
He's also looking to,
There's really no.
he said high tide, he can bring in a larger boat, go out, bring it over to the marina at low, at low tide, and he's looking for access to what he has.
right, but he's got access right off the stairs. Once he gets off those stairs, he's got access to the whole world. You know what I mean? He's got access
Yeah,
to
but
the
you
whole
could
world.
say that at
GIS of
any
the
point.
area.
Would you suggest I
If
connect?
he could get to two,
Yes,
if you were going
there's
to
a
do,
dock
where you
just-
get into some water,
there's
you know what I
literally a
mean?
dock
Where
right
you're like, we're going to do
alongside
a
that.
floating dock, and we're going to get to some
I
water.
can,
The guy's going to have his boat, where it's like reasonable. I could see, but
all right,
when you go into no water, I see Chip's point because you
But
get
we
to
don't,
these
we
things where
intend
you-
to disprove the DEC's rationale about where the SUV is. Because when I started this, there was nothing out 100
Right.
feet, and I put in for a float. In a year's time, it came back, and now I'm 2 years down. It may have gone back out. So I intend to redo that. Now, the other thing what I can do is if you ask or will approve a pier off the bulkhead, I will go back to DEC and tell them that I'm going to do
No,
it.
because that hinders people's
No,
access and
you
egress
have
down the
and
beach.
you have staircases up and down just
Yeah,
as
but
everybody else.
But the problem with that is that, and again, I respect what some of the past practices were, but what I'm seeing now is people putting signs on these things that say private property and all of this, okay, which is,
That's illegal.
I understand that's illegal, but this is what people are doing, and they're trying to insinuate and impede the public's ability to pass and repass, and I think that that's, to your point, illegal and a bit of quite an overstep. That it's like this is property that is property of the trust, and you start to look around and you're like, there's all these structures. They aren't really accomplishing anything. They're not going anywhere. It's not. At some point, you have to say, well, no, you know what I mean? We got to reevaluate what's
And if
happening.
you were really concerned about the eelgrass beds, you wouldn't want a boat motoring up there through the eelgrass beds to get to that dock in the first place at 2 foot a time.
The problem is when people want to put a mooring out there in the eelgrass beds, they do more harm than these docks.
Yeah.
So, there's
And that's a good point that you have too, because he has,
But you don't always have to approve that.
I know.
he will have that feature with the mooring on a boat. It's just that if you don't put the pier in there, then he has to walk further out, and he could probably put a shallow draft dinghy on the end of this thing so he can go out to his boat without going through too much water. So at least he's not walking out 150 feet. He's walking a couple of feet, comes up the ramp, goes to the end, gets in a dinghy, goes out to his boat, motors for the day, and then comes back.
When I was a kid running around Smiths Creek, Hampton Bays, I used to have a 6-foot skimmer. And I was a little kid. And I would throw that thing over the bulkhead, climb down the ladder, row it out, go to where I had to go, come back, do the whole thing in reverse as a little kid,
Yeah,
So, I
but
mean-
the homeowner is almost as old as me, and I'm not throwing anything over
Yeah,
anything.
I mean,
I almost wonder about like some sort of like davit system that could be on top of the bulkhead and just like go out, pick up or drop a jet ski or a dinghy at high water when it's needed.
Yeah, but
I-
it's all,
I
it's all
had-
dry up
or low water.
It's dry up the boat.
Just drag the thing in the water.
Or just leave it on a mooring.
I don't know.
Put a 13-foot whaler on a mooring, you walk out in knee-deep water, you hop in the thing and you go fishing. I don't know. I'm just not in favor of these long
It's a little
structures.
cold in December.
Is he really going to be out there in December
No.
and in a 13-foot
I had
dinghy?
another pier further on down on the other side, and the person walked down 150 feet as long as it wasn't ice every day, and you approve that pier.
Yeah, I get it. The thing is that you're looking at these things, and I don't know, you have to take a hard look at them all.
So what do you want to do? You want me to you want to deny it?
Don't know. I want to look at this and get the feel. I'm hearing.
Why don't we put it on hold and everybody go down to the property and see what it looks like? Go
I
down
mean,
there
we're basically there with the bulkhead application.
I think he's there with you. I think you're there with
I
your
mean,
bulkhead.
there with the bulkhead application
Yeah.
now that we came to terms with the cap rail
I
and
think you're
all
good
that
with
stuff. But it's going to come down to a vote regardless on this. Let's be honest.
No, I agree,
Well,
but I like
but
everybody to go down there
This
and
is a
look.
work session. You don't have to drive everything to a vote.
No,
at the
no,
present
we don't have
second.
to drive it
You
to a
got-
vote now, but yeah.
Not appropriate to do that.
If you go down there at low tide, you get a good perception of
I don't
what's
know what
going on.
I don't know what Joe McLaughlin's thinking. I don't know what.
According to the
I'll go with
there, I mean, it looks like there's
board.
still visible sand even at high water. That-
There is, only in the moon tides, it's completely wet to the bulkhead. So if you go down there at low tide, you're gonna get a good idea of what it looks like. Why don't we hold this and so the board can go down and look at it?
will you let me know and I'll be there too?
We will.
It's a hold. What else do you have here today?
That's it for me. That's enough.
Yeah, well, you got halfway good.
So do you want any other modifications to the plans? Do I need to submit new plans or?
Well, you definitely do, I think.
On the bulkhead,
Yeah.
The
yes.
bulkhead, you have to
Yeah.
change
Okay.
that 5 foot.
You know, talk to James after during the week, all the stuff that we discussed, you wrote it all down so you can concur on that, and then that part we can move forward on. As far as the
Okay.
dock, I'd like the board to go down there and look at it in person to get an idea what's there,
Yeah.
okay?
It's not that big when you think of it with the rest of the things out there, but it is tremendous ease of access for many, many things that he would like to do that he just cannot do now. So, you know, with a boat on a mooring and you're walking out 150 feet to get to, you know, an area where you have at least 3 feet of water, 3.5 feet of water for, you know, something like 26 feet, because that's about an average of boats out there, a low average. And you need to not be walking in too much water. So going from the stairs up a ramp is shorter than going all the way out. He has a little rubber dinghy, which he throws on top of the pier when it's not in use, and he just paddles out and he's in his boat and has a good day. So it's, you know, it's something to consider, I think.
Okay. Thank you,
All
Clay.
right. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks,
Thank you.
All right, Eddie, you got,
33 Canoe Place Road, the agency is N Consultants. Morning, Susanna. The applications to construct a dock consisting of a 4x10 ramp up to a 4x86 catwalk, a 4x14 ramp to a 6x20 float supported by 8-inch pilings. All decking will be 60% open grading and light penetrating, all timber to be non-treated, as shown on plans dated 6/10/24 and consultants.
So, believe this complies with the Blue Book in every way. That was my intention. The dock's about 120 feet in total. I think the pier line there is 130.
Yes.
So we're a little shorter than the average dock in that area. And we just get to 2.5 feet with the float.
the inner terminus,
I'm sorry?
the inner terminus of the float's at 2.5?
Yes, yes. It's at 30 inches, I'm sorry, 3 feet at the far end, at low tide.
Do you have a GIS view of the area? Because I know there's a couple other docks there that would, you know.
Yeah, there's one dock on the survey, or on the plans as well, to the north.
Yeah, that's the Rumba dock. So it'll be consistent to what that currently is.
It's a little shorter, I think.
It's a little shorter. So be, you know, it's tucked inside. There's a dock to the north, which is a pretty long dock too. So it'll be like in that pier line, correct?
Yes,
Probably a little shorter.
probably a little shorter, well, the shore comes in, sorry.
Yep.
But you're getting out to the
Adequate water,
Correct.
so.
Correct. It's a fairly narrow property, it's only about 50 feet, so we centered it.
that you have to get off the property lines.
Yeah, so we
no,
need,
that's awesome.
yeah,
Center
we're more
line.
than 10 feet from the property lines.
Now, the elevation of the dock on the landward end, is it gonna be necessary for passover steps, or is it something that,
I think you've got plenty of dry beach on the landward side.
okay,
We're starting right, we're just doing a 10-foot ramp up to high water.
okay,
So you've got a good 40 feet or something,
okay,
30, 40 feet of dry beach at high tide. So I don't think there's any need
Okay.
to do stairs over.
because there's a lot of foot traffic in that area,
I would imagine.
so.
Yeah. It's a nice, the beach is wide enough.
Yep. So we good with it then? James, does it look, everything compliant? Everybody
Yeah,
good?
I mean, this is going to deep enough water. and
Let's go into water.
It's an area that has a lot of docks on it. And it has access and egress for the public to go on the beach, so I'm okay with it.
He's got the.
And there's no submerged aquatic vegetation in the area.
Correct.
You got the water.
Yep, so, all right, let's move it ahead then.
We do need stamp plans.
Yes, so I'll move forward with getting the stamp plans.
You got David Salzman too.
Yes. What's next? So this is a project, this is 50 Hawthorne Avenue on the Trustees Shinnecock Beach Road. This is the exact same project, more or less, that we got approval for in 2015. There's an existing bulkhead, and landward of the bulkhead, there's some rock that was placed in the corner, sort of to extend the return of the bulkhead, adjacent to town-owned property to the west. There's quite an escarpment there in the corner and on the town's property where there's been some erosion. So on the town property, we're proposing to bring in sand and plant it with beach grass to try to restore that corner so that the return of the bulkhead doesn't continue to be undermined there. We have also applied to Conservation Board, as we did in the last go-around in 2015. We're going through the same process. We haven't yet, but we will be getting permission from the town, from the CPF, who manages that adjacent property.
So I'm sorry, the bulkhead is not being replaced, correct?
Correct. The bulkhead's
So the
fine.
the terminus basically of the return is a little too short for the current runoff, is what we're getting
Correct.
at, correct? And then what? The
So there's stone being placed.
what
landward.
size stone?
So we specify that as 1 ton stone.
1 ton, so rather large.
Yeah.
Holding.
Yeah. A lot of the stones are still there. They're going to be replaced.
I'd like to see some 1 ton stone and then also some stuff like this mixed in with it as well,
Okay.
so that we're not having the same problem happen again. Because if you don't have some kind of structural stone mixed in with the 1 ton stone, it's not going to hold the sand and structure behind it long enough for, and I'm guessing you're going to replant with some kind of vegetation to hold that as well?
Yes.
Yeah, so,
So there'll be beach grass throughout
yeah.
the whole.
I don't know, where are you guys with filter fabric?
Well, the problem with filter fabric, when you first lay it down, it's fine, but over time and the storms,
Ends up everywhere.
it's all over the beach.
Yeah. That's
By
kind of where I'm at.
Atterbury Road.
I
I
wanted
mean,
to ask.
But
No,
with stones sitting on it?
It still ends up getting
It
loose. It shreds
it,
itself.
it breaks down and shreds up. I mean, there are pieces of it all the way from Atterbury Road to Far Pond along the beach. I drove there last winter, and it's, it slowly decomposes and breaks down and gets into the water, and then the fish eat it, and it's a problem in the environment.
Well, we are proposing filter cloth as we did the previous go
I-
around. We can.
I
eliminate-
haven't had that same experience in projects I've looked at with the filter cloth where there were stones put on them in the beach grass. I have not seen that falling apart when it was done properly. I haven't seen that issue. That's why I say it kind of helped hold back whatever, and I don't know.
It's plastic, and as soon as it gets the sand gets washed away and the sun gets to it,
It ends up everywhere.
it does. I mean, I've seen it, especially along Shinnecock Beach Road to the east by Atterbury's, where there were coir logs laid on top of it. The coir logs basically decomposed and washed away, and then all the filter cloth that was there is all spewing all over the place.
Something maybe not have been done properly. I
Oh,
don't
it was, because
Yeah.
the coir logs only have like a
think those
3 or
things, yeah.
4
But the stones, why did you spec the filter cloth?
The contractor included that in the specification.
That's kind of like a standard, right?
Yeah, it is standard, and that's what was done previously.
I would be all right with the filter cloth. Not that I'm a fan, because like Eddie says, like I've worked the water a lot, I'm on the water a lot, and
You
that
see it
stuff
a lot.
is everywhere.
Yeah.
But I would like to see a staging of the stones, not just 1 ton stones. Like you have to like
Different
kind
sizes.
of break it down
Are you
behind
go-
the 1
Are
ton.
you going to excavate, lay the filter cloth like 2 feet down in the ground, and then put a base of smaller stones to lay the larger stones on? Is that how it's going to be done? Because something like that, then it wouldn't get exposed right away, or potentially exposed.
There's already a bit of
I know there is.
crater there. We could specify doing it that way if that
Well, that would give the
help.
filter cloth the ability to be buried for a much
Right.
longer period of time, and it wouldn't get,
Wouldn't get exposed.
exposed. That's what does in the filter cloth is the sun UV rays.
Here's a question. Who's engineering this?
We use an engineer in Greenport, Nick Mazzafano.
So he's signing off on this.
Yeah.
So,
And I
you
can
know,
have a conversation with the contractor about the methodology of construction and the size of the stones and improve.
I like big stones, but I like
A mix
a
of
state,
sizes.
you know, like you need something to hold the cracks.
And this time, the project lasted 9 years,
okay.
and we're back again.
So are we requiring stamped engineered plans on this?
Yes.
Okay, so if we're requiring stamped engineered plans, these are suggestions from the board, but whoever the engineer is that's stamping this, whether it's the size of the stones or whether we're speccing the standard of filter cloth, I think that has to be a consideration because we want a project that's gonna be successful. And that's the whole purpose of having stamped engineered plans, not to undo everything, so maybe you gotta go back to the drawing board on that with the suggestions from the board.
Okay. well,
Is the filter cloth something that's going to be should be there permanently, or is it only a temporary base to lay the smaller stones on and then lay the bigger stones? Because if it's only a temporary base, you could use very heavy jute matting, which will
That was-
naturally decompose, and then the smaller stones with a base solidify together.
I was while you're talking, I was thinking we could propose a biodegradable jute matting.
Jute would be great because
Because
it
that
just goes
would-
away.
It does. It's
I mean, microplastics in the environment are a big problem worldwide.
But we're
Well,
putting in
it's
vinyl sided bulkheading. So,
Exactly, so that's
But
what I'm
that doesn't
saying is
break
that
down.
yeah,
well,
it's got a lot of weight.
where are we going? It's like, where are we going? It's like if we're requesting stamped engineered plans,
Yeah.
Yeah.
then you need to have the engineer do their job. That's what the whole purpose is.
Yes.
If the engineer's
Yeah.
comfortable with the biodegradable jute matting, and it's going to be buried and it's
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
planted.
I would
and if
prefer
it
to see jute.
lasts and it's,
Yeah.
Well,
it's
I would
Make
defer to
that
the
simple.
engineers. That's what the whole purpose was.
Right.
And the projects
Right.
that I've looked at where it was done correctly, I've seen them working correctly.
Yeah,
I mean,
but you have to also understand on this. There's a side of this that's not going to be protected.
Yeah, it's going to be.
It's always going to be exposed.
that's where I
The
think
return is always that return historically is always going to be exposed, so that biomat is always going to get
Yeah.
exposed.
so have a conversation with your engineer. and see-
yeah. I
Bring
mean, the part of the project on the town's property, that's just sand and plants.
Yeah.
That might, maybe it could be a combination. If that's more likely to be exposed and degrade, then maybe that's where the jute matting would be proposed instead of.
I think Scott's right. Let's just see what the engineer
Yeah.
goes with
We'll,
this.
we'll
Yeah.
see what they're comfortable with, and we'll add some additional detail to this.
All right.
I do have pictures on my phone somewhere of all the plastic, but I can't
A
find
lot
it.
of plastic. I see it too. I walk the beach
yeah, if you-
constantly,
yeah.
and you see it.
I think that sometimes they're not engineered, we shift it off to engineered plans, and sometimes things are not done correctly. And I think sometimes homeowners engage in self-help, which doesn't work and creates these problems. And that's why we're trying to hold things to a professional standard so that we have greater successes on the shorefront here. And,
Yeah, but filter cloth has been a methodology that's been used for a long time, whether it's behind wooden bulkheads
It's true.
but when you put it behind a wooden bulkhead and bury it with sand, it's not exposed to UV light. These other projects that get exposed to UV light, and it does break down pretty quickly. Even the very heavy black stuff that they use. All right.
You got another one?
you have another one.
I do have
Yeah,
to write down the list.
Yeah, for me,
This is 11 Helen's
yeah,
Lane.
and North Sea, yeah. This is continuation of construct 4x7 steps with 4x12 catwalk with ladder and 4x4 posts. Is that
Yes. Yeah, so at the last meeting, there were concerns about extending the catwalk out into the
That's right.
channel.
Yes.
And so we've cut it back so that it basically ends at mean low or low water. So the catwalk would only be 4x12 with a little step down platform at the end and a ladder.
Okay.
So it's much shorter. It's obviously not in the channel. It doesn't, I mean, it barely reaches
Yeah,
navigable
it's
water.
it's
at the
basically
top.
the terminus of the wetlands.
Right, right.
Which
It
is
sticks out-
all I asked it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
Right.
It sticks
within
out
reason.
just past the
But that's,
vegetation
yeah,
there.
that's okay.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't. For me, that's just
Just update the cover sheet before you before I'm okay with it. So as long as the rest of the board's okay with it.
Scott. This was kind of one that you were concerned of.
Yeah. We may comply with what we
This
asked.
is what it looks like. Sorry.
But
See,
now,
see it
now
on
she's
the,
got it basically right to the
Yeah.
to the length of where the wetlands stop. It's not going to impede the channel.
Yeah, you can't, just as long as you gotta stay out of that channel.
Yeah.
Unless
Yeah.
the homeowners plan on trying to get a 28 footer tied to that little dock. I don't.
I mean, there's only 2 feet of water in there,
Yeah.
even in the middle of the channel. At
So this one
dead
has
level.
public, this one has public, concern.
Yeah.
Joseph,
it
have you been
did.
contacted by the public on this one?
Not this one. 28 Robbins, but not this one.
Is there anything that rises to the public having an outreach concern? Because I know there was some that should probably rise to the
There
public.
may have
hearing.
been some, but
But I think we mitigated the concern because that dock is not going into the channel.
Right, I mean,
I
yeah,
agree.
obviously we can't have docks going into the channel, but I'm always I've learned to be very cautious when there's been public outreach
Right,
concerns for
course.
things. I know there was some, in some instance out there, I just wanna make sure.
There was. I'm not sure if this was the instance was the address, but yes. But I didn't. They did comply with what we asked them to do.
Was it a different dock that there was?
It was, yeah.
It was way longer. That was right out.
Yes, yeah.
I want to make sure that there's sensitivity to the
No, I
communications between the trustee of the area and the
I
public.
agree. I agree.
I don't think it's going to be in anybody's way.
You understand the point?
I do understand, yeah. That's why we cut it back.
Then you considerably from the
Yeah,
last
a lot, yeah.
from the last application.
Yeah. It's a small, it's only a 12-foot.
Yeah. I'm fine with it.
Okay with it. Yeah. We good. Advance.
Just need stamp plans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Keith Chip, you're up.
128 Redwood Road in Sag Harbor.
The applicant, the consultant is incorrect on this, so it's actually Interscience, not First Coastal.
It's me. Okay, this is a simple renewal, Scott.
That's great.
We are at the village, being reviewed by the village. We need another year on the town permit so I can finish with the village. We're addressing all their concerns. That's really it. We want to update, we got a boat ramp has been assigned to the same Kristen Andrade.
okay.
So it's the same on all 3 boat ramps.
Oh, good.
That's all you need to know. I've resolved 2 of them. I have to resolve the other
Okay.
We do need to know, I need some more information on engineering costs, but that's not you. We'll get to that.
one. Okay.
We'll get to that.
This is just it.
I'm not gonna put you on
Yeah,
the spot.
This one's fine to
In any case, we're doing okay with the article.
Good.
Okay?
Been a long haul. Thank you for staying in there. Thank you. I'm watching your emails back and forth. You're doing a good job hanging in there. I appreciate that.
A lot of emails.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
12 Green Street. Morning.
Dana from Beeline Associates. Since our last meeting, we came in with a modification to the existing dock that was constructed, not to permit conditions. So I'm hoping that the remodified plan will be satisfactory to the board. We kind of did exactly what you said. We flipped the ramp and the floating dock to go south. So we're further away from the property line over here because we were less than 10 feet. And we have a slight little angle just to be able to get to that 2.5 feet of water. I don't know if you need to see this. And we're within the 60 feet from mean high water.
Okay. So you're off the property line. You got the 2.5.
Yes. Yep.
Looks like it's,
The only thing I know that is required is I will have these plans stamped for you.
Yeah, can I see these?
Yes, sure.
There's a lot of plans in here.
Sure.
You have the latest plans? No.
Do you want, if you want the whole set, I have the whole set. And this is the existing one, just kind of showing you what was approved,
Yeah, when it was
what is
swinging there, we were
existing.
getting boxed here, right?
That's
And then
existing.
we had to go this way. So that kind of mitigated
And this is
many
now
of those
proposed,
issues.
we're flipping the ramp and
They've
the
got
floating to the
2.5
south.
out to 3. It's a dive off right there. So I'm okay with that.
It's not like going to nowhere and it's not
Yeah.
killing the neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, a big
Killing
difference.
the neighbors, no
All right.
water. It's a
Yeah.
headache waiting to happen.
good.
You don't have to neighbors complaining. I can see my neighbor's stop. Hey, you like to touch it.
So if you guys are okay with these plans, I'll just have them stamped by our engineer and
Seems
then
good. Yeah.
resubmit. Have everything?
Yep, stamp.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Is the cover sheet, was the cover sheet up there?
I did send in a new cover sheet, yes. And then I guess I just maybe wanted to verify in my cover letter, I had mentioned that we didn't send in that modification fee. Did you see that? Because Tom Johan said that he had sent in a fee in September when he was trying to work things out, and that fee was never really applied to anything. He sent it in like a couple of grand, he said. So that was the only thing that I guess I just wanted to be sure we were okay with.
Yeah, we can talk about it. 'cause
Okay.
I don't have to look
I
at
think I
it.
mentioned that last time too. Okay.
You can't.
I'll just finish this. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dune Road, 35 Dune Road, Bridgehampton.
Hello. Michael Shiano from InterScience Research Associates on behalf of the applicant. And with me I have one of our new planners at InterScience, Christine Masawi.
Hello.
So this was actually a dune walkway that this board had approved a couple of years ago under the previous owner. And they built the new house and didn't go through with putting in the new walkway. The property has since been sold, but the permit had expired, so technically this is just a new application, but we're proposing the exact same walkway that was proposed before. Earlier this year, through a permit with this board, a sand fence was installed at the toe of the dune. This walkway will be on the landward side of that sand fence, and it's a 2-foot tall walkway, no handrails, with the typical requested 90-degree jog. We've inspected the dune, and it's essentially in the same condition that it was previously. No real advance of the toe, likely because there was no sand fence installed previously. And the DEC permit is still valid and current, so we're just looking to essentially have the previous walkway reapproved by this board.
Then we have the heights on that one, Jane. Yeah.
Minimum of 2 feet above.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And none of those wire handrails.
Thank you. Well, there is no handrail, really,
Right.
for the majority of it, just for the steps, correct?
No handrails
No
at all.
handrails even on the steps.
Nope.
Less is more.
Looks like they're minimalists.
Looks
I kinda
like
like that.
It looks like they have to shovel it out when they need to use it.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, that one's been there for a while. So
Wow.
they've really built up a good dune around their existing walkway, but they're going to have to.
It's almost too bad they just can't leave it and build this one over the top of it. But I don't know if that's acceptable.
I don't think that. I think the old one may. Right, I think the old one may actually get in the way of putting in the new piles. But yeah, yep, I know.
It's holding everything together right now. As it
Right.
is, so, yeah. Let's remove it. I'm fine with this one. You guys okay
Yeah,
with this
yeah.
one?
Yep.
Yes, advance. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Joseph McLaughlin.
111 Front Road.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Brett.
Good morning. Brant Reiner from Nelson Pope and Voorhees, here on behalf of the applicant, Mike Minardi. One second.
You have a lot going on here a little bit, so.
I'm sorry, what's that?
You have a lot going on with this application.
Yes, so this is an application for a dock. And a couple of things that have been touched on today, are going to play into this discussion. But this one falls just short of hitting the 2.5 feet of water depth needed to make the float somewhat as of right. This is a situation where there's a conglomeration of floating docks that somehow appeared on this property over time based upon some aerial imagery. They've been there for quite some time, and I'm really surprised that Bay Constables haven't really drawn attention to how these floats arrived and why they're there. We're here to correct that situation. The owner would like to create a legally existing dock, that has all permits in place. Based upon our foiling of the record, the trustees' records, we were unable to find any history of permitting on this property for the dock. That doesn't mean, that it doesn't exist. It just means we couldn't find it. But we're asking you guys to consider allowing us to reconstruct a floating dock that is consistent with the neighboring properties that have trustee permits in place. It's a relatively short dock. The float would lie in about 2 feet of water at mean low water. And the reason that we can't extend it just a little bit further, we need another 5 feet or so to get into 2.5 feet of water, is because it is within a relatively narrow creek that has a bulkhead on the other side, which shortened the actual width of the creek. If you actually measured the creek from true mean high water to mean high water without that bulkhead in place, perhaps we would be given some ability to push the dock out and still meet
what that width is?
So currently the width from our mean high water line to the bulkhead on the other side of the creek is 88 feet. And again, if that bulkhead weren't there, we know how flat it can be in that area. There would be probably more in lines of a 95 to 100 foot width of a creek there. But because the bulkhead's there, we felt it was appropriate to measure true mean high to mean high directly across the creek. So in doing so, that makes us, that limits us on having a water body width of 88 feet. And again, applying the Blue Book regulations that state the 1/3 allowance in narrow water bodies, that ends up with a dock of around, a overall structure of around 29 feet extending from mean high water. So what we're proposing to you is a floating dock that meets that requirement, allows 60 feet of water body between our float and the neighboring and the bulkhead across the creek. Again, to try to address one section of the code, recognizing that we're going to fall short on the water depth allowance for
Where's the channel?
Right here, Scott, right in the middle.
Right, it's almost here. It's almost right in the middle, right where you see James.
Because I think, doesn't that section of the Blue Book allow us the ability to make adjustments based on where the channel is? What was the question? With the third and the third, where we can make
I
adjustments?
need legal counsel on this one.
That's why I look that way.
So I guess just for my own take on this. I don't know, am I supposed to talk to legal counsel separate? Or
I
just
would,
keep my mouth
if you
shut
feel that you
now,
can't,
or
well,
what?
yeah, I mean, if you feel you can't make a fair decision,
I can make a fair decision, but I don't know, you know,
It's
I don't
important
know.
that you can make a fair decision, you know?
Well, you know that area.
on the
I
channel.
know like the back of my hand, I'd say exactly where the floating dock is, existing right now, is where the terminus of that, where that floating dock should be. I don't think it should go in the creek anymore. I don't think it should go in the creek any less.
How big a vessel is the client planning on putting there? Small, what about it? What's the?
Well, you take the two docks and you draw a pier line.
I don't have an answer for that. I can get one if that is important to the trustees.
Do you know how far out from the current float it's going, this proposed one?
Yeah, so if you look on the plans, if you zoom in real tight, James, there's a footprint of the existing float shown on there. It's really light.
I would just say that Strong's Marina
It doesn't
has
show up
a
in the
plethora
scan.
of people using rental boats going in and out of this creek, and I personally have seen them T-boat or like smash into each other. This is a very narrow channel.
It is.
And there's also a shoal that is just off your dock.
Yes.
Okay.
I saw
So
it on
I would say that wherever the existing float is where you should stop your legal application. And we are going to have to look at Blue Book of whether we can accept the float of where it is now.
What's the width of the channel?
Then it should go on hold.
This definitely has to go on hold, and we definitely have to talk about this in
What's the width
executive
of the channel?
session.
Can you tell us?
What?
Can you tell me the width of the channel?
It has to go on
I
hold.
appreciate
88?
that. I would like the
How much?
opportunity to discuss
88
it
feet?
further with the board.
Navigation area shall not
Full
be less than
disclosure,
30 feet in
and you
width. It
know
has
pretty
to
well,
be.
it sounds like you know the area very well. This float does sit on the bottom. At low tide, the float that exists today, first of all, it's way too big. You know, the trustees would never approve this today.
So
It's
it's legal
long.
dock.
It's not necessarily too wide. It's
No,
just too
it's just long.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
added
It's out of
pieces
spec.
over.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, I mean, it's old. It's been there for a long time. Again, I appreciate what you're saying, and I don't disagree with the channel being very narrow. I just know that it's sort of going to pit us against, you know, the things that we always are trying to accomplish, which is
That's
getting
why
the
I
floats
asked
into.
about the vessel size. I wasn't sure because that's what size will factor into narrowing the channel. So
Yeah, I agree with that too. Like if we have a large beam, it's going to really stick out.
Do you
into
have
channel.
the overlay of that and the existing? So
There you go. It
He's
didn't
got it.
scan
The
very
scan
well.
doesn't look like it came through
Didn't?
that well.
So,
You can take
so you're
Draw the
basically
pier
going
line.
out another 4 foot.
Another float.
Chip, if you take the two docks that are currently there, the floats, and
Yeah.
you draw the pier line, you got about 3 feet to play with to keep it specifically within the pier line, and you got the deepest water right there.
Yeah, I would say it can't go farther than the pier line, but
Well,
that's just,
I just drew that there,
Yeah.
and then the extended property line. So that would be the maximum you could go out. Any further than that, you're just playing with fire there.
it's a mess. It's a mess there, and we have, like I said, there's
I know.
Strong's is running rental boats, and I've seen head-on collisions right there, as it is.
So, is it one of those things where we could, again, we looked at the files, 125 shore, 121 shore, and 105 shore all exist?
I took the two floats that are currently there, and I drew the pier line, the blue line.
That's not too far off of where we are, actually.
No, you're splitting hairs. It's like
It's
2
like,
foot.
it's like 2
Yeah.
feet.
So I said 2 or 3 feet.
So it's up to the trustees. If you want to pull us back, we're going to need to, polish up our application to the DEC. Again, the dock is going to be chalked. It's a much better situation than what's there today. We're putting the proper structures, materials in place, pulling out any treated materials that are already there. I'm happy to take this back to my client.
That to me is the maximum you could wiggle room that's there.
So I do want to hold this. I just you need to go do a little work on this, but I think we're almost there. But if you can just come back to us next meeting with a more refined plan, I think that's a bit more.
I think Joe can take the findings of the discussions that we have as a board to you, but I'm gonna go with what Ed just drew you, a pier line from dock to dock, floating dock to dock, and that's probably where we're gonna accept it.
Could I just ask that if everybody's in agreement on that approach, I will redesign it and come back.
I don't think anyone's had any opportunity to really look at it. Have you?
I could, you know what I could do? How about I come back with a comparison? I'll show you guys what the docks look like with the pier line that Ed just drew.
Yeah,
And that
overlay, yeah.
And I'll overlay it onto what I have right now, and you guys can continue to deliberate at the next meeting.
That's fine.
That would be good. That'd be good.
I'll submit it before the meeting, so you guys can have time to look at it. But I'm here to help find the solution to this.
So are we. I'm just, the right solution's a little bit sticky with that's a tight area.
Yeah.
You've been at this a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you know at times it's a process.
Whose is this?
That's mine.
This is yours.
You guys have this in your files.
One other note, it looks like they're wrapping up Honey Pot Bridge.
It's finished.
Finished?
They do. Well, all of the in-water work is finished.
Yeah.
Now they're just putting the final touches on the plantings and the driveway surface.
I didn't one call.
Could you when you bring that in, could you just have like a pretty good, like a more clear overlay of the existing to
Yeah, there'll be a full
proposed?
comparative analysis.
So that way, like different colors or whatever,
It's one of our
so we
specialties.
can
Yep.
see it.
And can you get a bigger, larger scale GIS map overlay of the whole creek so we can get? Yeah.
We'll
Okay.
we'll
I
make
didn't
that
see
part
that.
of the record. I know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I made it part of the record. I just realized that.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be
that's-
part of the application package. Do you know if this made it in?
What would it be under photographs?
Maybe under the figures.
I do have.
This one?
I do have those. Yes.
You do have this?
Yes.
Okay.
That gives
And
you
again,
a-
it does show that the
Which
trustees
page?
have permitted the docks that we're talking about, so
Yep.
that's actually really helpful.
Yep.
Okay, great. May I ask one question? Of you, 49 Old West Hampton Road, have you been able to go out and take a look?
I was there a couple weeks ago, yeah.
Okay.
We had been discussing it.
You have.
I don't know
Will we-
exactly what our, consensus is at this point, but I was hoping
Can't
that
give
we
you any answers.
No, it's okay. Just so that you're discussing it, and I can give my clients some understanding that I will end up back on an agenda at some point in the near future.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you all.
Have a good day.
Thank
Have a
you.
good one.
237 Noack Road.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Stephanie.
How are you? So, this is an application for a new dock on my client's property. It is proposed as 4 by 98 feet. The fixed portion is 60 feet landward of mean high water into North Sea Harbor with the ramp and float that would fully be in 2.5 feet of water depth at low tide. The reasoning behind the location is to move it as far away from the neighboring dock as possible, because that dock, which was permitted by this board, is about 3 feet from the extension of the property line. So, and it's in full view of her house when the neighbor has their boat docked there.
That's a problem.
Yeah. But it has a certificate of compliance from the trustees for the construction. So she doesn't want to necessarily be closer to that one.
which means we're cutting a new pathway through the vegetation, and proposing to revegetate the existing sand pathway. This is all part of a larger project where we're reconstructing the entire house. We've received permits from everyone except the health department and building department for that project.
Have you got an acceptance from Marty to move the walkway?
No, because this came after that. But there is a covenanted buffer on the property for 75 feet, I believe, landward of the wetland boundary, that any of that sand area is going to be revegetated as part of the construction project for the new house. So in theory, all of this area that is currently open would be vegetated in conjunction with this proposed vegetation that we're showing.
Could you bump this out on GIS a little bit, James, please?
Yep. Oops.
Property does contain a 15-foot right-of-way.
Yeah,
That's
that's my
for the
question.
3 neighbors
Yeah.
to the south of this parcel. It does, I
So
believe,
there's a 15-foot right-of-way of which this dock would be impeding on the right-of-way out of the water, if you were to write that.
potentially,
There you go, Chip.
that right-of-way, I believe, is in only one of the deeds to the south of here, stating that they have water access, that it was probably in older deeds. But essentially, those 3 neighbors all share that
Yeah, I think you're
access.
gonna have to at least make your 10-foot buffer from the right-of-way, from the edge of the right-of-way, not the edge of the property.
I mean, yeah, they would technically be able, they could put a mooring out there. I mean, they probably wouldn't get a dock, but I mean, because it's not wide enough.
So you can't run from the property line, you'd have to run from the edge of the right-of-way, 10 foot in from the edge of the right-of-way.
So are you saying that the right-of-way technically couldn't meet the 10-foot
Couldn't be
setback?
Doesn't
part of
become
the
part of the 10 foot.
It's gonna be separate. You're gonna have the 15-foot right-of-way and then 10 feet of the extended property line, and then the dock would be laid out there.
Though it's not technically a property line, the right-of-way becomes, for all intents and
Right,
purposes.
but I guess you understand what I'm saying, that in theory, the right-of-way, if they were to have a dock, would not meet that.
Criteria.
Right.
No.
No, but it still is impeding them to have a mooring. If they wanted to put a mooring right off their 15-foot right-of-way or a stick mooring right there,
So
your dock is impeding, or the proposed dock is impeding their access to the water body.
Right. So if we change the angle in this location
As long as it's 10
to
foot,
meet that
10 foot
foot
over
Yeah.
from the edge of the 15-foot right-of-way, we'd probably accept it.
It seems like that other dock to the, what is that, southwest?
Southwest, yeah.
May have done some dredging, because the soundings that Bob Fox got for us are not consistent with ones that were
Oh, there's all
given.
holes and stuff in there. Years ago, there was some dredging in there. I don't know if it was.
Because their soundings showed that this was only going to be at like 1.5 feet, and it's at 4.5 right now. So,
I believe back in the day, this was done with a bucket.
Yeah, there's some places that were dredged out.
okay, so then we'll do what we can to explore to meet that 10 feet off of the right of way.
Yeah, you got enough room to move it. And you got,
It would probably just have to be more parallel with the extension of the right-of-way property instead of at the angle that's pretty much parallel to the adjacent neighbor.
You're a pro at this.
Am I?
Figure this
and
out.
you got adequate water depth, so this is Joe's.
Joe's.
Yeah, so you got a little bit of wiggle room there.
Okay, so we will do that.
You can do this.
I can do it. I can do anything. It's all good.
Maneuver it. We don't
Okay,
wanna have the neighbor issues, we don't wanna have depth issues.
right.
And they don't want to have to deal with the person that has the right-of-way agreement over the property down
Exactly,
the road either. So
exactly.
let's be real.
Well, that's part of the problem that we're having with the health department, because the right-of-way did not allow for utilities. Specifically, we have to get an easement for access of utilities, which is causing us years of,
Oh, the utilities
issues.
are in the right-of-way?
well, they're supposed to, it's
Yeah.
not written. So
Yeah.
the health department wants it written, and getting three people to agree on anything is
That's fun.
extremely difficult.
So this is the easy part of the test.
Exactly, I guess so. So we'll do it. We'll work on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Baldwin. I'm done.
45 Cedar Crest Road. Represented by Alfred Baldwin.
What are we doing there?
Sign in, state your name.
This is for the replacement of a 100-year-old bridge dock, and we've been working together for some time. And
This is the Davis Creek Bridges?
yeah,
Okay.
my family's been there for 60 years. 60 years. Unbelievable. Bridge dock. So I've been working very hard since our last meeting. As I said, I've worked with D'Angelo Engineering in town here, familiar with D'Angelo?
Yep.
And we have a stamped engineering plans, for the whole project. Also, last meeting, I think I mentioned, there's a New York State Department of State for Coastal Management that oversees all the coastal areas of New York State. I have their approval. Also, I was able to attain Army Corps of Engineering. They reviewed everything, and I have their approval. Also, I have the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, DEC. I recently got their approval for this project.
Hey, James, you have copies of this in the file? For our file?
I
Yeah.
have.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, so we got all three approvals and stamp engineering plans. Also, what I did for your reference is, you remember 39 Cedar Crest? It was a bridge right next door. Do you remember a bridge across the Davis Creek about a couple years ago?
Trustee Bell, yes.
Do you remember that? Okay. Well, Billy Mack did it, right? First call. Well, this is my neighbor, like literally right next door to me. And so I did a little comparison for your reference of the two bridges. And, just to give an idea of what you already permitted and approved, the bridge has been up for about a year and a half. Their bridge is 262 feet. This bridge is 206 feet. So it's over, it's 50 feet less roughly. The other thing is both bridges start approximately the same elevation of the bank. There's a bank there. And latitude, going east to west, is the same latitude, okay? Both bridges are approximately the same height. They're 6 feet, mine's 5 feet, 10 inches, it just happened to work out that way.
What's the pole spacing?
10 feet. That allows navigation of boats and so forth. Both are made out of the same lumber, the tropical wood, the 6x6s. It's very similar. We also have the flow-through decking for vegetation.
On both sides.
Both sides,
Yep.
same decking. Mark McRedmond has reviewed all the documents as far as right-of-ways and deeds are concerned, and I've been working with him for some time. He gives his approval. I met with him a few weeks ago. So I've done everything I possibly can.
Where are we at, Joseph?
I have trouble with Baldwin.
Joseph 1 and Joseph 2.
Which Joseph we're talking?
Trustee Joseph.
I've spoken with Baldwin the last 2 months, and I've also spoken with Mark McGrimmon a few times, and he seems to be in compliance with what we've asked him. He's been waiting, what, 2 years now for,
Two years.
for this approval, so,
Process.
given that he is compliant, I would say, and been through hell and back with this, I would say, let's advance it.
James, does it met all the requirements of the board?
There is a second platform, right, that you're
It's
proposing?
pretty shocking. It's existing dock that was also part of all these permits. It's in there.
Right, so just, they have the walkover to get to the beach on the other side, and then they also have another catwalk adjacent to it, you can see on the screen, that has a platform at the end that's 4 by 10 foot, so, just.
It's already existing, the one
Already
prior?
existing. It's
And
been there
it's
for
already
100.
permitted, or not?
No, it's been there. Both have been there for 100 years.
That's existing, you said?
Well, it's destroyed, but it was existing. You could see the remnants of it. It was there. You zoom in close enough. You see right there. There it is.
And it's staying with that footprint?
Yeah. Well, no, it has to be a little bit longer to get level with the bridge and so forth. That's what the engineer recommended.
I don't understand why it has to be any longer out into the water.
Oh, it's not out. It's not any longer into the water. It's longer up the bank to be,
To
consistent
make
with the
the grade.
bridge. To make
As
it.
long as it's not going any
No,
farther out
no.
into the water?
No.
Yeah. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Meets all the terms and conditions
All right.
as needed, Wow.
Permit number
2 years, guy.
Permit number
2 years.
Congratulations.
Oh my God. I'm so happy.
It's a
Congratulations. Thank you, thank you. So what do I do now? Do I go to I need to go to that meeting? Or am I?
No, we
Got
don't,
stamped
no, that's
plans?
us, yeah, as long as we have stamped engineering plans, then we'll have to do what we have to do and craft our resolution,
Yep.
pass our resolution. That usually takes about 18 months.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Matt, you're up.
All right, 218 Dune Road, West Hampton.
Next trustee, Brian.
Trustee, different trustee.
Present
former
trustee.
Former,
Brian
current.
Keeman. Right?
Yep. And this is my colleague Bill Lemaire.
Cool.
I had reached out as a follow-up last time, or last and first time I was here. We discussed where Billy Mack and I thought might be the best spot for a little stick dock. Matt was kind enough to spend a lot of time with me, both on phone and in person there. We both went for a little swim in some pretty rough waters at high tide, so it was poor timing. And Matt got back to me and said that there were, still some lingering concerns, issues, questions, things like that. So I just wanted to get back in front of you and discuss. And when we left off last time, I know that we had talked about possible movement of it. I know that you mentioned concern. Actually, I'll back up. I have one question. Matt had mentioned to me that the neighboring dock to the east actually is not permitted. Is it the float that's not, or the entire thing is not permitted?
As far as I know, up to the high water, it's not supposed to be there.
Got it. Okay.
A lot of the stuff there is non-permitted and problematic. And it's going to be addressed. Because we have to address these things. We cannot continue to allow structures
One that's not permitted?
on the trust properties without permits. Not, we can't do it. We're not going to do it.
Understood.
And this
Yeah,
is already
no
here,
question
this
there.
thing.
This is like
But that's
the
them.
property line.
Yeah, no, I get it, but it's like,
They want it to come off of this book.
We're here to look for a permit,
this is
not address this. Right.
Well, the extended
No,
property
that
line
one
goes
there
straight up
is
there.
The second one.
this is
that
property here.
they discovered that it's actually not even
Yeah.
permitted.
This is like they'll be taking surf ride.
Oh, you mean further to the right?
Yeah, but they're,
That's a great question.
but they're
No water.
extended oh, that's properties. I know there's no water there. I've been there.
It's a problem.
So what are the current concerns about our proposed?
Appreciable water depth was the main driver, and the problem is we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because to move farther to the east away from the neighbor's property puts you in even shallower water.
Yeah, but as we I saw
Mm-hmm.
you walking uphill, basically.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so that really, it kind of puts us in such a bind.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the two reasons why Billy and I thought it would be better 10 feet off of that bulkhead, or 10 feet off of that property line for the depth, but also less impact to the wetlands area. It's, as you saw, it's like not a typical, it's got that little tidal pool.
Right.
And we didn't really want to touch that or go over it or get foot traffic over there.
Yeah.
In this case, the foot traffic would be entirely on that top of the bulkhead and then right off. So not even touching any sand or anything. Yeah, that's my photography work. He had waders. I was in shorts.
Turns out they have a lot of leaks in them.
Yeah, so it didn't really help.
So I discovered.
But it was chill. When was that? Like,
Was that May?
May?
March, April?
I think it might have been April. It was
It was a little blustery that day.
Yeah. Bill, do you have comments or questions beyond what I'm?
Well, I mean, if you think about the location, it's certainly, you know, it puts the stick dock at least 16 feet away from the neighbor's return there. So it's how much further do you need it to be from the neighbor?
Which neighbor are you talking about?
To the
west.
To the west, with the bulkhead.
10 feet.
Yeah.
10
So we're the return that comes out perpendicular from our bulkhead is at least 10 feet from there. But then once you come out and then perpendicular and then go parallel with their bulkhead, it's at least 16 feet away. How much further?
I mean, there's no. I mean, as far as I can see, there's no water there. This
Goes back to the conversation you had with the other applicant in regards to
Exactly.
11 Lighthouse.
the stick out the
There's
dock
no-
to nowhere, not appreciable water depth. And
Yeah, exactly. That's
you
the
have a
problem
sandy
that the board
beach
has.
there.
There's no.
Kayaks.
This looks to me like more of a liability than an asset to me. You know,
Liability to who?
to anybody. You know that tries to use this thing. I mean, the problem that we're struggling with is the water depth. We can't get out to appreciable water depth on this one. And
What's the definition of appreciable?
something that's going to be at least a supporting of a floating dock, like 2.5 feet. We're having problems with these docks that are in 15 inches, 18 inches, 12 inches. It's like a problem.
Floating docks or piers?
Piers. If you can't have a floating dock unless you're getting out to that.
No, we didn't.
I
we-
understand.
We know that.
I
We didn't
just-
even try that.
And everything that is hugging the neighbor's side of the property has been coming back and making a problem to this board. It's making a problem. I got complaint after complaint after complaint. As you're sitting here, you're hearing these people. This is a problem. That's a problem.
What are the
Well,
problems?
basically, we're moving to the point of like, if it's a dock to nowhere that has no appreciable water depth, there's no need for it. If you can launch kayaks off the beach as well as you can the end of the dock, there's no point for the dock, and it's got to be within 20% of the center line of the property.
Oh, wait. Go back. So the 10-foot thing is
10-foot
not
thing has become a
at play here?
humongous issue. Army Corps of Engineers requires 15 foot. I see no reason why a person should have the right to hinder the neighbor's view because they don't want their own dock and their own view shed.
Well, that's not what we're going for here. We're trying
Not
to work
here,
with you.
no, yeah, no, I
We're
understand.
trying to find a good spot for it. We're happy to move it too. So we're not looking to block anyone
Well, if you can
for our
find
convenience.
appreciable water depth, if you can find an appreciable water depth, then I can understand putting the
Back to
dock
the 10-foot question. What does the blue book say?
10 foot.
10 foot.
Just set-
Okay, so opinions are not really a play here. This is blue book.
It's the blue book, and then
Okay.
the Army Corps does.
All right, so
say-
we meet that.
Yes.
All right, I just want to be clear here.
No,
This is starting to get a little wishy-washy.
No, it's
and
not.
No, it's not.
No,
It meets it. So
it's
10 foot
black
done.
and white. Yeah.
Black and white, blue book. Thank you.
I
All
don't
right,
think
so there's
so.
that.
I don't think so. You had a discussion with the neighbors, Anthony?
I received an email from them. Yes. I didn't speak
He's
to them
got
directly.
he's got issue. He's been contacted by the neighbors.
I know all about that.
Right. So it's
Right,
going to
and we weigh that against what the rules are.
Right. It's so this is the case. It's going to have to definitely go to public hearing if it goes any further.
Sure.
I think that would be the
Because
that's
once
the
you and that's the concern because these
Yeah.
things with the neighbors have become a problem, and this board's going to have to it's going to have to do several things in my opinion. It's got to put a moratorium on docks until we sort this out. It's going to have to make a big push for enforcement on illegal docks, and we're going to have to get this under
again,
control. Yeah,
I understand that, and I appreciate the illegal dock thing. That is not part of my application.
No, it isn't.
We have nothing illegal
No,
going on.
It's not. Well, no,
So-
it
so
does,
I-
but it doesn't. Because what happens is for this board, Brian, and you sat on this board, is everybody comes in and the first thing they do is they start pointing at docks. Well, they've got it, and they've got it, and they've got it.
We're not though.
Right.
That's we don't care about that. We never brought it up. It's not where
This-
we're pointing.
this
I'm
is what-
pointing at blue
this
book.
is what
So
we have going on.
I'm at one point is 10-foot blue book. I don't see where there's any discussion there. Appreciable depth, not very well defined, unless there's an actual number. But they're either going to be bringing in a small shallow boat, docking it right on the water there on the beach, or tying it up to the end of a stick dock. I just thought that was less impactful.
Cool.
And I do understand the neighbor part, and that's the purpose of a public hearing. But again, if it complies, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, Brian, you do have this graph here, and appreciable. It goes from 0.3 to 0.6 to 0.8 to 1 to 1.1. There's no appreciable water depth. It's not like it goes from 1, 2 to 3. That
How do we define? I'm just really confused that there's not a number.
It never gets to 1.5 feet, though.
But is that the number?
Well, generally speaking, to answer your question,
18 inches.
What I would say is, and it doesn't seem to get there.
I would say
For a floating dock, right?
No, for
At
anything,
low.
for anything. For
Okay.
anything. And I use that rationale, and I've said this is a foot pedal kayak. If somebody wanted a foot pedal kayak, you need about 1.5 feet. So if you get to 1.5 feet, but it doesn't even get to 1.5 feet. So this is a struggle for this, and it's got hugging. It's less than what the Army Corps wants. It's less than appreciable water depth. It's a situation where there's always, it is a tough one for us.
Matt, did you say you had a conversation?
And he's got
with
the
a
neighbors
I
complaining.
didn't speak to them directly, but I have received.
Then let them have their.
Why don't we have a
voice.
public hearing?
Yeah.
We're going to argue back and forth here.
Yeah.
Why don't we have
No
a
one's
public
arguing.
hearing?
Well, you do have appreciable water depth at another location, but then there's a problem with that.
We'd be happy to move there. I mean, that's what I left with the first meeting was you let us know what could work.
Well, what
better
are you
depth.
saying? There's another spot where we can get
Yeah, we
appreciable.
talked about that
you
last
just said.
time, but it's outside that
Yeah,
distance.
Right.
And if we
You-
can
you
get
need
there,
to
we'll
go
get
look
there.
at that. You need to go take a look at that and see what's going on exactly there and figure out
Well,
how you
if we're
work
going to
this
have a
property.
public hearing on a project, we should get the best information so that we could move the public hearing in either a positive or negative way. Right now, I don't see this is problematic. So public hearing is, I think it's just going to be hashing over what we are now. If there's another location where it's going to give you appreciable water depth, I would submit that application so that we could put that onto the public hearing. Am I correct, James?
Happy to
It's
do
up
that.
to you guys.
I'm just giving you, we're going to talk about something that you get 3 inches more water here. That's really not appreciable water.
This is a problem. This is a problem. And it's going to be a bigger problem is what I've been trying to say. It's a problem, going to be a bigger problem. And
Let's go through the public
let's go
hearing
to the public
process,
hearing.
and then you'll get the neighborhood input. Then we'll,
I'd like to stick to facts and not, assumptions.
Right.
And
Do you
so
want-
we'll also propose a different location at better depth and see if that looks any better.
well, let's hold off the public hearing till we get that application before us, then we can schedule that public hearing with that information.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Brian.
who's next?
We've got 21 Sandpiper Hole. Thanks for waiting.
Good morning.
Morning. I think this one will be easy.
Okay. Should be pretty straightforward. So this one is, we were in for low sill bulkhead.
Yep.
Dock going over the low sill bulkhead, and the client wanted to add hand railings, and we had a discussion last month about this. So we lowered it to your suggestion, 4 feet above the height of the actual bulkhead.
Low sill bulkhead.
Yeah, exactly. So we have the plans, and this is basically, we had discussed it between the board here. So this is just modifying the plans to match what we had discussed previously. The Army Corps of Engineers wants 4 feet above any tidal wetlands, but we discussed that it was a safety hazard. So we lowered it and includes the handrails as well.
Yeah. And that should be all the pretty steep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spooky steep.
Yeah.
That pitch.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
I'm fit and healthy, and I wouldn't feel comfortable.
Nope.
A little water on that.
What do you think?
I dig it.
Okay.
Do you need stamp plans? Of course. Yes.
All right. James will tell you.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Do you have stamp plans then?
Um,
I'm looking at the wrong
For
one.
the new change.
yeah, don't have them stamped with this new change, but I can get them for you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Get him. You want to have
the
this file
revised?
complete?
Okay,
Yep.
sorry, I was looking at the ones you had in there already.
Revised plans. So
Yeah,
they can
we'll
be
get them stamped.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good day. Thank you.
Okay, so you got general permit applications for determination, final stamp plans.
Woodcock is good.
Woodcock Lane,
Good stamp.
yeah. That was another interesting.
Good?
Yep. And then 40 Ocean View. Good.
We got the covenant and everything. It's Shinnecock Beach Road, right?
That's going to be on for the regular meeting. This is going to be on for a regular meeting. It has the covenant that they sign.
Yep.
The permit doesn't get issued until.
Everything, all the paperwork is finalized. Okay.
Yeah, and I reviewed it's signed, I got my Schedule A, so we just need to sign it for ourselves and file it.
And
Okay.
Scott will have it for after to sign.
Okay, sounds good.
And I've spoken to the title company, we'll get it filed.
Excellent. Don't want to give a permit and try to chase them around and get this stuff done.
What are you gentlemen here for?
They're exact.
Okay. Just making sure. Thank you.
All right.
So that being said, we had a lot of discussions on the beginning of this, and we do have folks waiting for exec. I think I will make a motion to adjourn this meeting, go into exec.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Warner. All in favor?
All right.
You got this out.